Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Imago Nutrition Podcast. My name is Mark. I am here with Danielle, our registered dietitian extraordinaire, my business partner, and happens to be my sister-in-law. Danielle, how are you doing up in your neck of the woods? You find yourself in St. Louis for our new listeners. I find myself in Nashville. And so how are things up there in Missouri?
They are good. I was on mute, so sorry about that.
No worries.
They are good. It's still a little hot here, but I'm looking forward to some cooler weather. Apple picking is probably one of my favorite activities with the family. So.
Yeah, we had our second fake fall, so we're kind of back up being warm again. So we usually get, first fake fall, second fake fall. Maybe we've talked about this on podcasts in the past because we're parents now and we talk about the weather. But for me, I don't think fall starts until we have fall break at school, which is this year, the second week of October. So I kind of cling to summer until after that vacation, we go down to the Gulf, and then I come back and then I want all things orange leaves and chillier mornings and stuff like that. So we'll see what Tennessee has in store for us because it tends to be pretty long before we get to chilly weather, but I'm with you on that. So with that, we have, I think, another terrific topic. We got really great feedback on our last episode on how to overcome sorry, I'm blanking right now. How to overcome
Emotional eating.
Emotional eating. Oh my gosh, what a botched intro. That's fun. That's very real. So how to overcome emotional eating. I'm sitting here looking at my notes for this one and I'm like, no, that's what we're talking about today. And so really great feedback. Thanks to those of you that reached out either in our DMs or even some personal texts with us. I'm glad that was helpful. And I think today is going to be every bit as helpful because if you're someone who has found yourself sort of year after year trying to make progress on your health goals, whether that's a weight loss goal, whether that you feel, the ins and the outs, the ebbs and the flows of your yo-yo dieting, you're either on a plan or you're off a plan, you're either making progress or you're regressing. You kind of find yourself perpetually trying to, particular, like lose weight year after year. And like January's coming again. I got to try this thing again year after year. I talk with so many people, that try to lose weight for decades. Right. And that's not good, right? Like, we'll just say that, like, it's not good to feel like you always have to be losing weight because you never actually lose the weight and keep it off. And so I think this is going to perhaps, I was joking before we hit record, Danielle, that, I'm in marketing and sometimes we talk about, sometimes you have to, expose the boogeyman so that you can sell the nightlight, right? And we're not going to try to sell you anything today. We're going to try to just give you tools to overcome this boogeyman that you might not even know really exists. And that's this restrictive eating mindset. I do believe that this is one of the most predominant underlying issues that is being dealt with, whether we know it or not. And it sets up this perpetual diet yo-yo, trying to make progress. I'm either on or I'm off. I'm either progressing or regressing. And so much of it, I think we agree, would come down to this restrictive eating mindset. So with that, if you have a topic you'd like us to explore, we always like to hear from our listeners. You can head over to imagonutrition.com, IMAGO nutrition.com/podcast. You can fill out the form there, shoot us your topic as suggested, and we'll take a look at it for a possible future episode. And so why is this important? I'm going to kind of speak specifically to the weight loss issue because, in part because the CDC recently released new obesity prevalence statistics. And suffice it to say, America, it's not going well. Okay. So in 2023, we see that across the entire country, all 50 states had an obesity. That's not just overweight. This is obesity level body fat. Had an obesity prevalence higher than 20%. That's more than 1 in 5 adults on average. But let me tell you, 20% is the bottom. Okay. And so only Washington, D.C. and Colorado had obesity prevalence between 20 to 25%. So that's the bottom in terms of states or districts in the U.S. 7 states had obesity prevalence between 25 and 30%. 17 states had obesity prevalence between 30 and 35%. 20 states, the most. 20 states had obesity prevalence between 35 and 40%. And 3 states, Arkansas, Mississippi, and West Virginia, had obesity prevalence of greater than 40%. So let's think regionally. If you live in the Midwest, there's an obesity prevalence of about 36%. That's more than a third of the population. In the South, where I live, so Danielle, you're in the Midwest, I'm in the South, we're at 34.7%. Again, more than a third. The highest, so the Midwest and the South have the highest prevalence of obesity. The West had an obesity prevalence of 29.1%. So they're eking up toward that third. And then the Northeast had the lowest, which was 28.6%, but that's not necessarily something to be proud about. And so why is this important? Well, 2 things. One, I believe that most people, and I have seen that most people that are obese actually just think they're, quote, overweight. Okay, when you take a look at what obesity level body fat is, which according to the American Council on Exercise is 25% or more for men, it's 32% or more for women. And when you take a look at that body fat percentage, I truly believe, and it has been my experience, I've been doing this for over 16 years, is that most people who are technically obese just think they're overweight. They would not ascribe this this level of body fat as being obesity. And this is going to be an encouraging episode. So I know it's setting up kind of heavy, but we're going to get there. Okay. So just so that you know, people who are overweight or obese are at an increased risk for many serious diseases and health conditions. Okay. So this includes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea or breathing problems, many types of cancer. I think it's 12, low quality of life, mental illness, body pain, and all-cause mortality. And so, yes, we're starting off on a serious note, but we want to equip you and encourage you because so many, almost 75% of Americans are overweight or obese. Okay, that is 3 out of 4 people are overweight and or obese and are at this increased risk for these conditions. And so with that, tying this into it, Danielle and I believe, and we're going to talk about this, that restrictive eating mindset is one of the reasons why so few people make long-term progress. Because what we think is the path to getting healthier in this area is often the path that's keeping us from making progress. Okay. So with that quick setup, Danielle, I kind of led the last episode. I would love for you to lead us really through, and maybe I'll supplement with a couple ideas or weird commentary through in the same sort of system as we took a look at overcoming emotional eating. And so if you haven't heard that episode, please go back to that and listen to it. But let's talk today about how to overcome a restrictive eating mindset. Because again, you and I agree that as we've worked with clients for 12, 14, 16 years, this is one of those core issues actually at play that's keeping people from making long-term progress. And so with that, unless you have anything else to set it up, would love to have you walk us through this 5-step framework.
Yeah, no problem. So the first tip that I would say would just to be rehearse the truth. I think we're surrounded with messages that are not true. So we really need to first kind of learn the truth. One quick example of that is, carbs don't cause weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we first learn the truth that the only thing that causes weight gain is more calories consumed than calories burned,
Mm-hmm.
then we can have some freedom in our food choices, which
Amen.
allows for long-term success. Okay. So if you are doing anything short term, there's no point in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to, use those functions of food, which are, nourish our body and enjoy what we're eating. So again, the rehearsing the truth or finding out the truth can give freedom, which is just one way for the long-term success to happen. But yeah, first you got to learn the truth, and then you have to just rehearse it because you will continuously see messages that are pointing you towards for example, carbs cause weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes too, I have found that you have to dig a little deeper and learn why what you are experiencing with your body is not necessarily what you think it is. Okay, so I have a quick example of that. So my mom said to me briefly the other day that every time she has her English muffin, she gains a couple pounds. Um, and she's like, I know that's not true. I know that half of English muffin is not causing me to gain 2 pounds,
Mm-mm.
but she sees the number on the scale. And so later on, I mentioned to her, I was like, Mom, did you know that, bread is actually high in sodium? Now, it's not, half of a English muffin, but she will admit to you that her diet is too high in sodium.
Mm-hmm.
And that is likely not anything to do with weight, but fluid retention.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think of one slice of bread, sometimes that can have 200 milligrams of sodium. Then you put a little butter, 1 tablespoon of butter could have 85 milligrams of sodium. So now you're at half your meal of sodium with just that one slice of bread and butter. So that's just one example of how you kind of need to dig deeper a little bit. And we'd be more than happy to help you with that,
Yep.
of learning why what you are experiencing with your body is not what you think it is. Because sometimes you feel like you have the evidence. This is the evidence
Yeah.
that this is true. And it's not, again, it could not be not what you're thinking it is. So
that's so good. And on that, comparing the evidence with the experience, right? A lot of times we think this is evidence, therefore, right? And we're an evidence-based company, like, Mark, Danielle, like, this is the evidence. The evidence is I eat and scale weight goes up. That's your experience. Let's talk about the evidence and what truth it speaks into that experience. And that's the good news. Carbs don't inherently cause weight gain. Sugar doesn't inherently cause weight gain. Hormones don't inherently cause weight gain. Meal timing doesn't inherently, whether you're doing intermittent fasting or eating before you go to bed, doesn't inherently cause weight gain. And so I love that too, because what often we process as evidence is actually, quote unquote, I'm not devaluing it, but it's experience. And the good thing about the evidence is that, just like you said, carbs don't inherently cause weight gain. And so that's the actual evidence scientific literature would agree with. Now we need to reconcile that with your experience. But to your point, this actually begins to free you up as opposed to hinder and clamp you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So that's number one, which is, rehearse the truth and these thought patterns that we often have. And again, yeah, we would love to. I mean, if you just follow us on social media, we're probably, touting how sugar doesn't cause weight gain, that hormones can't inherently cause weight gain, that, age doesn't inherently, that sort of stuff. So like if our social media can help be part of that, thought pattern, but also if we could work with you individually, we would cherish the opportunity to do so. You can reach out to us at any time through our website. So with that, so that's number one, is rehearse the truth. Danielle, what would you say is the second step in this framework to overcoming restrictive eating?
Yeah, so it would be every meal needs to include a food you enjoy.
Amen. Amen. I'm just going to be over here cheering the whole episode. Okay.
Okay, good. That sounds great. I love it. So if this is routine, it is less likely to cause overindulgence. So for example, I'll tell you one of my favorite things is mashed potatoes. I love mashed potatoes, and if I don't have them in a long time, then I'm like really, really enjoying them. And it's harder to have portion control. So, now I'm not saying we need to serve mashed potatoes 3 times a week or anything like that. I'm just saying that we do need to have foods that we enjoy routinely. And then also, this is also saying that every meal doesn't include something like birthday cake, right? So we need to find ways that these nutrient dense foods really, you can fall in love with them. So I remember when I first tried roasted carrots. I don't know how many people have tried roasted carrots, but it really brings out the sweetness of a carrot. So
I love
raw
roasted carrot. Yeah.
Versus roasted carrots is night and day. And so,
so true.
Yeah, you really need to find ways to really look forward to these nutrient dense foods. And that takes practice, that takes time, that takes patience. I love this one recipe resource, Cookie and Kate, because it's all vegetarian recipes, because vegetables are where people struggle the most to
Mm-hmm.
make them exciting.
Yep.
And they really can be. So she is a pro at making those vegetables taste amazing. So don't be afraid to include sauces or cheese. It does not like ruin your goals. It actually improves your success because you are enjoying and looking forward to these foods that give you the nutrients that your body needs. So
I love it. And if you're listening to this and you winced when Danielle said she's vegetarian, like hear what Danielle said. Like you want to go to people that have spent their time perfecting those foods. So we're not saying you have to be a vegetarian by any means. I'm not. Danielle's not.
no.
We're not vegetarians. But like think about going to someone who has said, I'm going to make vegetables. I'm going to make things other than like meat taste as good as possible. Like those are the people you want to go to. And then you can go prepare your protein the way that you like to, or go find someone that does protein really well. Like go to the experts. But we know that Americans do not consume a proper or even the recommended amount of the vast majority of Americans. I'm forgetting the exact statistic. It's like 85 or 90% or something like that of Americans do not consume at least the recommended amount of fruits and veggies. We're a little better on fruits. We're not so good on veggies. So to your point, like roasted carrots are a game changer, right? And so you want to go to those expert resources so that you can find new ways to craft that. We're not saying you have to be a vegetarian. So for all you guys out there like, oh, I'm not a vegetarian, I eat meat. Well, that's fine. Doesn't mean you can't learn something from a vegetarian. I certainly have. So calm down, Chad. Okay, like relax. You can still have your backyard barbecue, but maybe it needs to include some freaking vegetables. Okay. So I love that one. So every meal includes foods you enjoy, and you're learning to enjoy some of these nutrient dense foods because we can know and trust that if our taste buds adapted to coffee and beer and whiskey and wine, I guarantee you they can adapt to fruits and veggies and whole grains, nuts and seeds, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's the second step. I love that. Talk to me about the third step in this framework of overcoming that restrictive eating mindset.
The third one is to learn what your body needs and not to guess. And I have two ways that you can do that. One is going to a TDEE calculator. So you're
Mm-hmm.
actually learning about your total daily energy expenditure or your calorie needs. And then, getting some help to figure out what your protein needs would be, your fiber
Mm-hmm.
needs. And tracking. I'm not saying tracking for the rest of your life. I am saying tracking to see where you're at, where's your starting point, and where you need to be. So it's kind of like going to school for a short period of time to learn what your body needs. And so that is one way. It's a really good evidence-based way because you see the numbers, you see the portions, you're measuring, looking at labels. It's really going to teach you a lot about food and calorie density and nutrient
Mm-hmm.
density, all those things. The second way to learn what your body needs is to practice mindful eating. This is lost in our culture. We
Mm-hmm.
are going as fast as we can, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing,
Yep.
multitasking.
Yep.
So we need to slow down. It's 15 minutes to enjoy a meal. So no phones, no TV. Most certainly, you can have people, you can have music. I would say it's best to practice the mindful eating when you think about the plate method, which is a fourth of your plate carbs, a fourth of your plate protein, and half your plate of those non-starchy vegetables. And the reason for that is because the body needs protein and fiber to help feel satisfied. So if you sit
Mm-hmm.
there and you're slowly eating, a plate of spaghetti, it's going to take a long time to feel satisfied unless you have some protein and fiber with that spaghetti. So, with with the plate method, no foods are off limits, but you're utilizing the purpose of the food. So you're utilizing carbs give you energy, protein helps you feel satisfied, and fiber helps you feel satisfied. And then you're taking the time to enjoy the bite that you're currently chewing and then waiting for the next bite, etc. So, practicing mindful eating can be the second way to learn what your body needs.
That's huge. That's huge. And I was actually in a conversation online over on Threads with someone and was asking, the person was asking about, the importance of fiber because everyone's talking about protein. I understand that. And I was mindful that virtually every one of my clients, based on their individual context and goals in the last 16 plus years, has had a protein and a fiber target in some way, shape, or form. Like, again, protein, I'm glad protein is a huge conversation right now. Fiber is not in big of enough conversation for so many reasons. We need the optimal amount of fiber, and 95% of Americans are not getting even the recommended amount, let alone what could be optimal, which could be much higher than that. And so America is definitely struggling in this regard. So learning what your body needs, whether it's through, and I always try to frame tracking. And by the way, a good website to go to is tdeecalculator.net. Okay, .net. That's going to use the Mifflin St. Jeor formula. And so that's the website that I use and we use when working with clients. So you can go to the website that we use, tdeecalculator.net, not .com, .net, and you can take a look at your calorie needs. There's a lot of numbers if you do the calculation. I would say don't worry so much about macro breakdown and BMI and some other things that are in that results page. Predominantly look at, your daily calorie needs. And then also take a look at your basal metabolic rate. A lot of times that surprises people that their basal metabolic rate is a lot higher than they think it is. And that's really freeing as well to know that your body burns the vast majority of the calories just existing for a day. Right. So I love this. And then that mindful eating, super key. So that's number 3, is learning what your body needs instead of guessing. And that tracking is that educational environment. That mindfulness is like a really powerful environment to be in, to begin listening and being in tune with your body instead of just shoveling food down your throat because you're on the go, which we're all guilty of, myself included. I've confessed that when I go to Chipotle, I need to set a timer on my phone to spend like 20 minutes with my bowl, or else I will wolf that thing down in 6 minutes flat tops, right? So that's number 3. So what's the 4th step, would you say, in overcoming a restrictive eating mindset?
The 4th one I have is to exercise. I find just that when I am not moving, it could cause that thinking of, I don't deserve that bread, I don't deserve that
Ah,
pasta, I don't
ah,
deserve fill in the blank.
hmm,
So I'm not saying, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying you need to exercise so you do deserve those things.
right,
That's
right,
not correct.
correct.
Because your body needs carbs. The only reason we talk about focusing on protein and fiber is it should be easy to get carbs, because
Mm-hmm.
those are typically our favorite foods, if we're not in that restrictive mindset or diet mentality.
Yep.
So exercise, the reason this is on the list is so you can be more in tune to your appetite.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're not moving as much, we can't really take note of, is my body hungry, or am I just wanting food? So it allows you to listen to your body more appropriately.
So true.
And also, it's on the list because it should be part of everyone's life, no matter your health goals. So
Amen. This is
those
me
are the
over here
2
just cheering.
reasons.
Yep, 100%. Keep going.
So,
Sorry.
yeah. No, so yeah, exercise for sure helps you listen to your appetite more. And then second, it should be a part of everyone's health, no matter your health goals. So,
So good. And I'm mindful of this. Can I confess?
mhm.
This last week, so for my full-time career, I had my entire team down in Nashville from 4 different states. We all came together, got a huge Airbnb, had a 2.5-day summit. I had team dinners every night, author, dinners. Last week, I did not work out during the day. I did some push-ups at night, but I did not have my normal workout at all last week. And we didn't plan this, right? But like I became hyper aware that without that exercise, I was beginning to have to battle this idea of like snacking as hobby, like eating as hobby. And I couldn't say that I was ever like truly hungry apart from like in the morning, because that routine, both my strength training and then playing soccer, even my game was canceled this weekend, right? My men's soccer game. And so I became, again, we didn't plan this. I became hyper aware that it was this huge gray area. Hunger became this huge gray area that it normally isn't for me, because I've got a pretty set regimen that I enjoy of strength training and cardio. And so I'm glad you said that, because honestly, I don't think I've ever connected the dots or articulated as well as you have, even with clients. And I was very aware of that this last week, that exercise helps. We all know that with hormone signaling, with, so much going on in the body physiologically, it actually helps bring clarity to like actual hunger, as opposed to like physical hunger, as opposed to like psychological hunger. Mm-hmm. So super powerful, that exercise component. Thanks for unpacking that, because that was an interesting take on exercise that even often I'm not connecting the dots on, is how this actually, let alone the whole, like, I've got to earn my calories, right? Like this is a way that can actually help create clarity around, hunger. Right. And so that's awesome. So that's number 4. So what would you say is the 5th and final piece to this 5-part framework of overcoming restrictive eating?
Yeah. So the last one is the same one as we had in the previous one, is just to give yourself grace. So
I love that.
We will always mess up,
Yep.
all of us. So the first way we can kind of fall, into restrict your appetite should be higher than you're giving yourself a chance to listen to your body. So if you restrict your appetite, then later you're going to feel more hungry. And this is giving you a chance to listen to your body. So it's almost like your body will naturally give you grace, right? So you over restricted, and now you're starving. So what you need to first do is definitely turn to that protein and fiber, so you don't overindulge and feel not so great. So turn to the protein and fiber first. Definitely get the carbs on your plate and enjoy, but slow down, listen to your body. If you tend to over restrict, and then you're starving later. So the other way is if you find yourself feeling guilty for overeating. We really don't want to swing into shame. So I think I heard it at church, but I love this definition of guilt versus shame. So guilt is like a gentle nudge to turn directions, to turn towards getting back on track and listening to your body in this example. Whereas shame is you're staying put, you're not learning, you're feeling bad. And then you can swing to the emotional eating cycle that we talked about last week. So if we, first of all, there's 2 ways to feel like we're falling off of, well, we don't want the restrictive eating. So that would be if we're falling into the restrictive eating, give yourself grace. And then if you find yourself that you had too much to eat, don't stay in shame. Just use that gentle nudge to turn the direction to getting back to listening to your body. So
huge. So powerful. So powerful. So again, just in summary, here is the 5-step framework that we recommend for overcoming a restrictive eating mindset. Number 1, rehearse truth. Okay. Number 2, every meal should and can include foods you enjoy. Number 3, learn what your body actually needs instead of just guessing. Number 4, exercise for the many, 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 many benefits of exercise, not the least of which is actually helping free you up from some of this restrictive eating mindset. And then lastly, when you stumble, give yourself grace. It's not about what happened last night. It's about what's happening this morning. It's not about what happened last week. It's about what's going to happen this week. It's not about what happened last year. It's about what's going to happen this year. We all stumble. We all fall, myself included, Danielle included. We are there with you. We understand it. We are parents. We have jobs. We have schedules. We have plans that get thrown out the door. We go on vacation. We go to parties. We enjoy the holidays. We are there with you. Just know that you can proactively pursue your health goals amid life while still enjoying it. It's no way to go through life is with this restrictive eating mindset where you go through life avoiding food and being afraid of certain foods. It's far more fun to go through life actively and passionately and offensively pursuing foods, because it leads to greater health and ultimately greater enjoyment and freedom. So with that, well done, Danielle. As always, thank you for walking us through that. If we can help in this or in anything else, as we continue to head into the fall and even into the beginning of New Year, We would love to help in any way, shape, or form if we can. So if you would like to reach out to us, head over to our website, Imago Nutrition, imagonutrition.com/contact. That will shoot an email directly to us. We're hyper responsive. We are real people on the other side of this podcast, helping clients every day with these sort of things. And we'd love the opportunity to help you as well. And so with that, if this has been helpful, would love for you to subscribe to the podcast, drop us a review, let us know how we're doing, or share with a friend. We'd love for you to share this with, again, any people in your circles so that we can help as many people as possible for free. That's why we do the podcast. If you're on social media, you can follow us at Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO Nutrition. And as always, we'd like to thank our theme song band, Happy Pill, for our theme song, Thinkin Bout Food. We'll see you next time.